Some people say visual novels peaked decades ago. However, visual novels now are still pretty damn good, looking more refined, unique, and impactful. From passionate tales of romance to emotional gut punches to unique genre viral hits, these are the most popular visual novels from 2020 to 2025. Starting off with a modern Key title, a pretty emotional one and my personal favorite. Studio Key is known for their emotional visual novel stories, especially if it involves robot girls, and Stella of the End is their most refined version of that concept. There's something strangely powerful about pairing a harder and cynical man with a bright, hopeful android, especially when the world around them has already fallen apart. The story follows Jude, a seasoned courier who survives by delivering goods across the ruins of a post-apocalyptic world. One day, he accepts what seems like a simple job from a wealthy old man: retrieve and deliver a package to him. But instead of an object, Jude finds Philia, a strange android girl, a girl who wants to become human. And what was supposed to be an ordinary delivery quickly turns into an escort mission, as Jude is tasked with guiding her across dangerous landscapes. Still, the End's premise is interesting, but what's really captivating is the main two's lead relationship. Jude's jaded, survivalist mindset constantly clashes with Philia's idealistic, human-oriented view of the world, and through their conversation, the game explores the nature of humanity, technology, and the qualities of being human. Their dynamic shifts naturally over time, starting off as an unwilling teacher to a naive student, to eventually turn into this unlikely father-daughter bond. Think The Last of Us, but futuristic with robot girls. The author, Romeo Tanaka, does a really fantastic job writing this, from an emotional side and a thought-provoking side. Also, visually, the game is surprisingly vibrant, despite its post-apocalyptic setting. Environments may look rugged and run down, but the art style makes these settings look distinct and colorful, while still adhering to Stella of the End's futuristic techno aesthetic. Some players may find the story predictable. After all, it carries the familiar DNA of a Key title. But Stella of the End isn't really about the destination. It's about watching these two characters slowly grow closer as their beliefs, doubts, and hopes are tested along the road. And by the end, you'll see that their journey is not only a physical one, but also a deeply personal one too. Stella of the End stands as one of Key's strongest short visual novels, and an easy recommendation for anyone who loves emotionally driven sci-fi stories. Very few visual novel series can balance brutal murder mysteries with playful charm quite like The Somnium Files. In its sequel, Nirvana Initiative continues that trend while being more ambitious. It's a story where its characters are forced to see horrific bodies, and yet the series' greatest appeal are the personal, intimate lives of the people you meet. Set 6 years after the original game, Nirvana Initiative follows Mitsuki Date, a special agent in the Advanced Brain Investigation Squad. Alongside her AI partner Aiba, housed in a cybernetic eye, she's pulled once again into the resurfacing of a serial murder case known as the Half-Body Murders. At the same time, the story also rewinds to the original investigation 6 years earlier, led by Kuruto Ryuki and his energetic AI partner, Tama. Using a technique called syncing, both pairs dive into the dream worlds called somniums of suspects and witnesses, uncovering their hidden memories and guarded secrets that can't be reached any other way. Written by Kotaro Uchikoshi, the author behind Zero Escape the Nunnery games, Nirvana Initiative doubles down on what made the first game special while improving those qualities further. The visuals are sharper, the investigations are more intricate, and the narrative is far more ambitious in how it weaves timelines, perspectives, and plot reveals together. What really gives the game its personality, though, is its cast. Ryuki has an eager, straight-laced attitude that contrasts with Tama's playful sarcasm. Meanwhile, Mizuki's headstrong, fiery personality has Aiba serve as a reassuring, tempering force to help her stay focused. That said, plenty of the other characters have quirks of their own, some more strange than others. Between the whimsical nature and genuine sincerity from the cast, the tone never feels too unsettling, despite the brutality of the murders. Gameplay-wise, it keeps the familiar structure. You'll have detective investigation segments paired along with surreal timed logic puzzles, and even a few newer mechanics are introduced to really make things interesting. The Somnium Files and its sequel Nirvana Initiative are worthwhile detective murder mysteries with plenty of interesting surprises along the way. But I always found the characters to be just about, if not more rewarding. Now, to start off, the original Aokana 4 Rhythms Across the Blue is a sports romance visual novel, where its characters participate in the flying dogfight and racing scene, flying circus, and also fall in love along the way. For anyone who loved the rush of the flying dogfights in Aokana and the emotional weight behind Misaki's route, this visual novel sequel fan disc is not just a fantastic continuation of her character arc, but an all-around spectacular sports drama story. Aokana Extra 2 takes place after Misaki's heroin route, following her and our main character Masaya as they continue forward in both competition and their relationship. What once felt like a journey from her painful struggle to her hard-fought victory now becomes a story about chasing new goals and discovering what they want to do in the future. Extra 2 elevates every great aspect from the original. The matches feel more intense, the art direction is bold, and the combination of music, writing, pacing, and tension turns every race into something both exhilarating and meaningful. Even side characters who barely had time to shine in the original story finally step into the spotlight, some returning with intense drive and unresolved feelings. Now, while sports is the big appeal here, it is still Misaki's story. Where Aokana explored her fears and insecurities, Extra 2 is about self-fulfillment, about what it means to compete not just to win, but to feel proud of who you've become. Her relationship with Masaya also becomes more optimistic, shifting from mutual healing into being more uplifting and forward-looking, with all of the romance intimacy that comes with it. Aokana Extra 2 doesn't just feel like an extra optional fan disc, it is both the true payoff to Misaki's journey and one of the strongest examples of how a sports visual novel can blend adrenaline, romance, and personal growth. For a series best known for its cozy sweetness, playful charm, and cute catgirls, Nekopara Volume 4 sets itself apart from its prior installments. While the familiar warmth of catgirls and cafe slice of life are still there and is attractive as always, this chapter tells a compelling story too. Kasho Minaduki is living his dream. He runs a successful French-style patisserie surrounded by devoted catgirls who work by his side as waitresses and assistant bakers. And yet, even with all that happiness, something still weighs on him. His father's disapproval as the head of the long-running Minaduki Japanese sweets operation. And so, Kasho travels to France to seek guidance from the teacher who once helped him find his path, determined to finally earn his father's approval. Written by Yukiya Murasaki, this entry gives our main protagonist Kasho more depth than ever before, turning who was once a fairly simple, static protagonist into someone who actually grows significantly over the events of the story. Yes, he may be happy and successful both in love and in business, but this is something far more personal, a challenge and a self-reflection to be able to reach that ideal of his, and to repair his family relationship. Everyone who loves him is there to support and motivate him through his rut. His bond with his family is the emotional core of this story. Of course, this visual novel still delivers its trademark cute and cozy moments and passionate R18 scenes, given you've installed the patch, but this premise adds that sprinkle of family drama and stakes that makes everything feel much more meaningful. Nekopara fans will be rewarded here, although they probably didn't need this recommendation in the first place to read this. Really, it's a noteworthy story for anyone who's followed Kasho and his family from the beginning, or who just like catgirls. Nothing wrong with that. And now, a beautiful love story about a boy and the girl who dream the world, and how the two of them are never meant to be together. Cyanotype Daydream. At its core, this visual novel is a sci-fi drama romance, but the way it's structured is through a collection of cases that provide deeper meaning to the overarching romance story, each one exploring different people bound together by longing, regret, and hope. One case follows a middle-aged failed writer whose marriage is falling apart as he meets the daughter of the famous author who crushed his dreams. Another places William Shakespeare in a reimagined 1500s England, forced to write plays for a noblewoman in a world where women aren't allowed on stage. And the third tells the story of a young boy chasing his late mother's dream of photographing a once-in-a-lifetime comet alongside a complicated teacher who pulls him back towards life. Cyanotype Daydream uses these individual stories to explore the same emotional truth from different angles. Every pair of characters is trapped by something, fear, regret, or their own self-doubt. And at the heart of each case, you get to see these couples slowly support one another through it. The case structure might seem strange at first, but it gives the larger story room to breathe, making the final emotional moments of the main story hit even harder. Cyanotype Daydream isn't just a simple romance, it's an uplifting story about becoming the best version of yourself through the love and support of others. This is one of the most emotionally resonant visual novels of the decade, and my top-rated visual novel in 2022. Next up, a game that looks like a burst of neon colors and playful chaos, full of bright character designs and animations, flashy UI menus, and an upbeat techno soundtrack. What many could call the Persona 5 of Eroge. But beneath that vibrant, colorful surface is a game that's more morally dubious than it initially lets on. Dona Dona, Let's Do Bad Things Together. The story follows a rebellious group known as Nayuda, a small band of outcasts fighting back against Asobi, a powerful corporation that controls control society by keeping people comfortable, distracted, and blind to their nefarious activities. The ragtag group dedicates themselves to fighting back between clashing with corporate lowlives and rival gangs, even if that means turning to dirty, dubious methods, such as operating a brothel business. Between story segments, the game splits into two: a 2D turn-based RPG where you push through dangerous areas and enemies, and a management sim where you pair your hired mistresses to the right customers, where the better the character stats, the more money you can earn. It's this contrast between the kick-ass colorful presentation and the unsavory, even uncomfortable activities that make up this Eroge. It's not a game for everyone, but this is an Alisoft game, the same developers behind Evanical and Rants. The darker aspects and content should be no surprise. And yet, Dona Dona is still one exciting, stylish, and engaging game. For a group of supposed revolutionaries, the Nayuta clan feels more like a tight-knit group of friends, leaning on one another through the chaos and danger. Their banter, their playful moments, and the way they support each other gives the story a warmth that offsets its darker edges. The gameplay is also fun to play, both in its 2D turn-based segments and even the management sim parts. There's something strangely addicting about optimizing your girls to reach their full potential and avoiding pregnancy to maximize the rewards. Dona Dona is bold. It pushes its darker elements further than most, and that sharp contrast creates one hell of a whiplash. But it's a very unique Eroge experience that's worth a play. Now, this title is special, for it's a remake of a cult classic, The Spark, that turned its developers into a worldwide sensation. A beloved visual novel from the 2000s, now transformed into a modern-day masterpiece. Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. The story follows Shiki Tono, a quiet boy burdened with a terrifying ability. He can see lines of death on people and objects, lines that allow him to cut and sever anything. After surviving a near-fatal accident as a child, Shiki gained this mysterious power, which he struggles to control. Shiki returns to the Tono family mansion after years of living with relatives, hoping to live a peaceful life in a new environment. However, his life takes a turn for the worst as he gets wrapped up in a series of vampire-like serial murders after his meeting with a mysterious yet beautiful woman. Tsukihime Remake is a complete transformation from the original version, from its stunning cinematography, its emotionally rich soundtrack, and its refined writing direction. You could say it is a AAA visual novel title where Kinoko Nasu and Takashi Takeuchi brought their vision to life in its best possible form. Whether it's explosive battles, haunting imagery, or intimate character moments, everything is presented with care and confidence. Kinoko Nasu's strength as an author shines here. His range shifts effortlessly between intense thrilling action to deeply unsettling horror to ordinary slice of life. Meanwhile, Takeuchi Takashi's striking character sprites and CGs create these bold cinematics, going above and beyond expected visual novel standards. The remake also deepens its characters and story from the original in significant ways. Arcoid's presence in her route is just as magnetic as ever, even more ethereal, personally speaking, and Ciel's newly rewritten route takes the story to grand proportions, expanding the lore while still fulfilling intimate character moments. That said, it's not without flaws, as A Piece of Blue Glass Moon is only one half of the original Tsukihime visual novel, with no indication on the sequel's release. However, this visual novel still stands as one of the most impressive visual novels ever made, and it fully deserves to be read. Now, not every visual novel needs an expansive world, attention-grabbing premises, or attractive female characters to be popular. In fact, this one is a very strange visual novel. It's a psychological denpa horror game about buying a bag of milk. Milk inside of a bag of milk inside of a bag of milk, along with its sequel game, Milk outside of a bag of milk outside of a bag of milk. At first glance, it looks simple. You follow this nameless girl as she goes outside to buy milk and return home, and very quickly, you begin to understand her unique circumstances. This task is anything but ordinary for her. Between the pixelated visual presentation, oppressive, haunting sounding music, and unusual inner thoughts, this average walk turns into this surreal psychological experience. One that actually has a fair bit of charm to it. The game is only an hour long and it costs only a $1. But in that limited time period, it shows you what it's like to be her. That experience where everything is a mental ordeal she has to live through. And its sequel, Milk Outside of a Bag of Milk Outside of a Bag of Milk, goes further into this. Here it explores a more introspective viewpoint into her emotional state at night. Only this time, it's explored through more traditional visual novel presentation elements, putting the main character on screen and adding more of that surreal visual style to it. The Milk series is a super unique visual novel experience, a bizarre interactive story that, while short, is effective of what it wants to show you, the reader. This game isn't a traditional visual novel, but it is very much one interactive game. One where you manage a young girl streamer and give her all the attention, love, and support she wants, otherwise she'll break. Needy Girl Overdose. The game has you live with Ame, a girl who, in order to satisfy her need for attention, begins live streaming under the internet persona OMG Kawaii Angel, or K-Angel, to become the #1 internet angel. You play as Peachan, her partner and manager, responsible for guiding her daily life and activities as her online following grows. From planning streams to helping her deal with stress, every choice you make shapes the kind of person Ame becomes, where behind the cute wig, makeup, and bubbly internet personality is a mentally unstable girl about to break at any moment. Needy Girl Overdose is psychedelic in presentation. Through its pastel-colored Windows 95-esque style background, you manage Ame's schedule, talk to her through text messages, and operate her live stream. It's through those activities that, while performative as per her job, that you get to see an intimate look into her true feelings and past. All of her thoughts and beliefs leak out through public and private social media posts, vulnerable DMs, and even self-destructive behaviors. There's always that fragile balance between Ame's stress, affection, and mental stability, ever shifting because of your decisions. Make one wrong choice and it can send her spiraling downwards. Now, despite her constant struggle, the game is actually at its best here. Ame's personality shines through all of her responses and reactions, as both a reflection of her own pain in life and as a subtle criticism/satire of live streaming culture and parasocial relationships. With 27 possible endings, you get to see how Ame transforms as she continues her live streams. Some endings happy, some bizarre, and others far more disastrous. Really, watching all the crazy up and downs and seeing how messed up things can get is both the fun part and the unsettling part of the adventure. Needy Girl Overdose, another super unique game, and an unexpected viral hit in the 2020s. Next up, a beautiful, emotional story about taking back the future. Atri, My Dear Moments. This is a story where I'll show you the characters happily enjoying life, making wonderful memories despite living in a ruined world. In a future where the sea has swallowed much of the land, a boy named Natsuki, who has lost both his mother and his leg, returns to his flooded hometown. While searching the ocean in a rusty old submarine, he discovers a strange girl sleeping at the bottom of the ocean, a humanoid girl named Atri. Atri looks and speaks like a human despite being a robot, and while she does not remember the final command she was given before she fell asleep, she declares that she will stay with Natsuki as his leg until she remembers that order. Natsuki and Atri are very different, a depressed boy genius to a prideful, childish brat robot. Natsuki can't stand Atri, but when he's carrying his traumatic wounds through sleepless nights, Atri is there to comfort him through her calming, reassuring, and attentive words. Watching them slowly support each other is warm and sincere. Those moments of them laughing, arguing, and simply living together might be ordinary, but it packs so much meaning. Over time, you'll see the two of them open themselves up to each other and to the people around them, further expanding and making a difference in this ruined world together. By the end, they become self-realized individuals, able to fully stand back up again with solid conviction. The story also uses its sci-fi elements to explore Atri. Through its discussion about robotics and artificial intelligence, the visual novel asks questions and talks about personal loss, painful memories, and what it means to be happy. While the story may appear as a slice of life scene by scene, there's plenty of subtle emotional draw and mystery to who Atri is and why she acts the way she does. The presentation is super atmospheric too. The faded, discolored visual style adds to the rugged, rustic environment. Some setting set pieces capture a lot about how badly the sea rise has affected humanity, while also being a reflection of the current state of affairs. It creates such a visually distinct feel, especially for being such a short 10-hour visual novel. Atri, My Dear Moments is a heartfelt, accessible, and quietly powerful visual novel, one that's easy to recommend to both people new to anime visual novels and as a personal favorite and recommendation of mine. Now, before we talk about the current ranking #1 in popularity, here are some special mentions of visual novels released in 2025 specifically that are quickly rising in reputation and acclaim. First off, the 100-line Last Defense Academy, an ambitious visual novel tactical RPG written by Kazutaka Kodaka and Kotaro Uchikoshi. Here you follow the story of Takumi Sumino, an ordinary high school boy turned humanity's last soldier, as he and 14 other students must defend humanity's last bastion for 100 days against endless waves of monstrous invaders. It is is every bit of the narrative epic advertised, featuring 100 actual distinct endings and being also highly regarded among fans as a bold masterpiece that deserves to be played. Next up, Maho Shoujo no Majo Saiban, aka Magical Girl Witch Trials, a magical girl horror mystery best seen as a Madoka Magica meets Danganronpa murder mystery. The story is about 13 girls imprisoned on a remote island after being labeled as potential witches, beings capable of destroying the world. When one of the girls commits murder, Emma Sakuraba must investigate the crime and survive witch trials to identify the real culprit before she becomes the next one executed. A fantastic game among fans with a stunning presentation between its eye-catching distinct art style, a nicely fitting soundtrack, and solid voice acting work. A must-play title for anyone who loves this combination of anime niches, even more so if you're a fan of Madoka Magica and Danganronpa. Note, at the time of this video, there is an English translation currently in the works. Now, following that, we have Oe, a boys love psychological horror and Showa period piece mystery. Brought to you by Adelta, the developers of Hashihime of the Old Book Town and Ultra C, this is a story where you investigate a closed circle murder mystery set on a remote island in 1950s Japan. Here, you follow Osaki, a detective sent to the island on someone's behalf for a commemoration of the 2nd anniversary of An Oe, a famous actress. The attendees come to grieve in harmony despite their differences in status. That is, until the servant who had been attending them is found murdered, and as time goes on, more and more victims are discovered. A detective visual novel inspired by the classic Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, that also includes romanceable love interests. Each route offers its own unique blend of mystery and romance. Really, it wants to indulge you in that enticing thrill of loving someone who might be deceiving you. Note, at the time of this video, there is an English translation currently in the works. And last but not least, Limelight Lemonade Jam, the latest title from a famous and fan-favorite wholesome romance developer, Yuzusoft. What many fans possibly claim is their best-written and highest-rated title among them all. The story follows Yukitaka Okinami, an aimless young man skilled at the base but with no goals and ambitions. That is, until he stumbles upon a street performance that would change his life forever. A solo performance by Ena Harumi, a young girl singing and playing guitar with raw amateur skill. Written by a group of talented writers in the visual novel space, Limelight Lemonade Jam brings you that same charm of attractive characters and wholesome romance, this time grounded in a non-fantasy premise centered entirely on music and bands. What's also really notable is its collaboration with Bamboo/Hiroshi Takuchi, representative director of Overdrive and the sound producer and director behind titles like Kira Kira, Deardrops, and Musicus. And now, residing at the top of the listings currently for the 2020s, the epic finale of a beloved supernatural action romance series, 9 Volume 4. Really, this installment is the moment where everything the series has been building towards finally explodes into one emotionally charged finale. Set in a small college town, the story follows a group of friends who have been given superpowers after an earthquake shatters a sacred artifact, unleashing jewel-like objects from a parallel world that invokes these powers. Shortly after the earthquake, Kakeru and the girls around him discover a petrified body they believe to be caused by these powers, only to then investigate and uncover a much large conspiracy behind it. Now, each installment focuses on a particular girl and her own circumstances and character arc. Here, Volume 4 focuses on its final heroine, Noa Yuki, all while the group closes in on the true mastermind behind these supernatural incidents. What makes Volume 4 so satisfying is how confidently it blends its over-the-top Chunibyo style action with genuine emotional depth. The battles are more intense than ever, but they're grounded in Noa's personal insecurities and the way they tie directly into the larger conflict. Watching her struggle, grow, and fall in love gives the story a surprisingly heartfelt core beneath all of the chaos. The visual novel also delivers on impact, with bold twists and a bombastic conclusion that's worthy of the long journey to get there. Watching our main character Kakeru as he confronts the villain and gets the upper hand is a sight to see. That surprise fake-out is noteworthy. That said, for how conclusive Volume 4 is, we can't also forget about 9 new episodes. The epilogue story that acts as a final farewell to the player. It wraps up lingering plot details, gives you some warm slice-of-life moments with all the girls, and ends the series on a nice sentimental note. It's not essential, but it's comforting, like one last fan service moment before saying goodbye forever. Together, 9 Episode 4 and its epilogue episode make for a satisfying, emotionally rich send-off to one of the most charming supernatural romance series of the 2020s. And with that, those are the most popular visual novels currently from 2020 to 2025. All of these are solid recommendations worth checking out. That said, if you are interested in some of the older classics/legends, you want to check out this video over here. I would like to thank all my Patreon subscribers for all of their support in helping me cover visual novels. You guys are fantastic, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing.